All right, so 3.2 is going to talk about these things called truth tables for negation, conjunction, and disjunction, okay? So we're going to walk through these problems to see if we can't make sense of them. And so here's the first truth table. This is a truth table for the negation of a statement, okay? So remember, a statement is a sentence that can have a truth value, okay? So again, if we were to say something like, oh, I don't know, the University of Texas at Austin's colors are burnt orange and white, right? That statement would either be true or false, okay? So then the negation of those statements, if the statement was true, then the negation would be false. And if the statement was false, then the negation would be true, okay? So that's what we mean by truth tables, okay? We're going to do the same thing here for the idea of a conjunction. A conjunction, guys, means the and, okay? So I want you to think about these two sentences here. Suppose we're applying for a job, and the job says, in order for you to be considered for employment, or in order for you to be qualified for the job, the applicant must have a bachelor's degree, and the applicant must have at least 3 years of accounting experience. Okay? So you have to have both in order to be qualified. Okay, so if P is the statement, I have a bachelor's degree, and Q is the statement, I have 3 years of accounting experience. Suppose I do have a bachelor's degree and I do have the accounting experience, then yes, it would be true that I have them both, and so therefore I would be qualified for the job. Okay. Now, suppose I have the bachelor's degree, but suppose I do not have the experience. Then it is false that I'm qualified for the job because I would need to have both. Okay. So this one is saying, well, it's false. I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I do have 3 years of accounting experience. Well, unfortunately, I'm still not qualified for the job because I need both. And the last one says, well, I don't have the degree, nor do I have the experience, so then I'm definitely not qualified for the job, right? That's the idea of what a conjunction means, okay? Now, there is another table, guys, called the disjunction. Okay, so I'm going to use those the same two sentences that we had before. Oops, sorry. Where P is, I must have my bachelor's degree, and Q is, we must have 3 years of experience, okay? But now we're going to talk about something called the disjunction, which is the or statement, okay? So suppose when we're applying for this position, the conditions are now different. The conditions say, in order for you to be qualified for the job, you must have a bachelor's degree or you must have 3 years of accounting experience, okay? So again, P is the statement, I have a bachelor's degree, suppose that's true. And Q is the statement that I have 3 years of accounting experience, suppose that's true. Then do I have at least one of them? Yes, I have both, so I'm definitely qualified for the job, okay? Now this one says, I have the bachelor's degree, but I do not have the experience. However, I am still qualified for the job because this is a disjunction or an or statement, which means as long as I have one of them, then I'm going to be okay. So I do not have the degree, but I do have the experience. I'm still qualified for the job. And the last one is, I don't have the degree, I don't have the experience, well, I'm definitely not qualified for the job, okay? All right, so to sort of summarize what we have here, let's see. The conjunction, the and is only true when they are both true. That's the only time it's going to be true, okay? And then the disjunction or the or statement is going to say, The or statement is true when either P is true, Q is true, or they're both true. Okay? So again, what do we mean by that? It's going to be true as long as one of them is true. Okay? So if they're both true, great. And as long as one of them is true, then the whole statement will be true as well. Okay? So what we're going to do here, guys, we're going to construct a truth table for each one of these statements, okay? So here is my statement, okay? And it says P and not P. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little table. My table is going to look like this. And in the first column, I'm going to put P. And in the second column, I'm going to put not P. Okay? All right. Well, let's think about this for a minute. P can either be true or it can be false. If P is true, then the negation would be false. And if P was false, then the negation would be true. Okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a table for P and not P. Okay? So remember what we said earlier. We said that the and, which is the up arrow, will be true as long as both of them are true. Well, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these two. Are they both true? No. So the whole thing is false. Are they both true? No. So the whole thing is false here too. Okay. All right. So now, let me see if I can do this. Boop and boop. Okay. And so now what I need is to do the next one. Okay. So guys, one of the things that I did, because I'm going to be referencing them a lot, is I went ahead and copied this table again in this page of the notes so that we wouldn't have to be going back and forth. And look what we're looking at here. We're going to make this truth table for Q or not P. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make, clean that up. Okay, I make a column for Q. I'm going to make a column for P, and then I'm going to make a column for, let me fix that a little bit, for not P. Okay, and then I'm going to have one for Q and not P. Okay. All right. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I'm going to start basically doing this. So here's my Q. I'm just going to go, I'm actually going to, let me see if I can explain this the easiest way. I'm going to try to make my table look something like this, okay? So I'm going to go true, true, false, false, and then I'm going to go true, false, okay? And then what I want you to notice is, look, this one here is P, this one is not P. So whatever this is here, this true is, the negation will be a false, the negation of false will be a true, the negation of true will be a false, and the negation of false will be a true, okay? Now, I'm only going to be looking at a couple of things. I'm going to be looking at Q and not P. So this middle column of P, I don't really need it anymore, okay? I'm not going to erase it or anything like that. I'm just going to sort of block it out of my memory because I don't necessarily need it, okay? Now, we are doing the OR. So again, I want to point something out here. Let me clean this little bit of mess up. And we're going to look at the OR. The OR statement is going to be true as long as one of them is true, okay? So I'm going to look at this piece here and this piece here. Is at least one of them true? Yes, so it's true. I'm going to look at this one here and this one here. Is at least one of them true? Yes, so it's true. I'm going to look at this one here and this one here. Is at least one of them true? No, it is false. And I'm going to look at this one here and this one here. Is at least one of them true? Yes, it's true. Okay, so this is what my table would look like. Okay, so guys, when you're doing this in my math lab, there's going to be certain pieces you're going to have to fill out, and other pieces will already be filled out for you. Usually these pieces here are sort of filled out for you. you're having to fill out that one. Okay. So let's go ahead and try the next part. Okay. I'm going to do the same type of thing that we did before. Okay. So I'm going to make a truth table. I'm going to put P. I'm going to put Q. We have a not Q, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to look at the inside of my parentheses. I have a P and a not Q. Okay. And then I'm going to look at the whole thing, which is a negation of P and not Q. Okay. All right. So I'm going to make these first two columns here look pretty much like that part. So I'm going to go true, true, false, false, and then I'm going to go true, false, and true, false. Okay. So now let's look at the next part. Remember, we want to know what not Q looks like. So if Q is true, not Q would be false. If Q is false, not Q would be true. If it was true, then the negation would be false. And if it was false, the negation would be true. Okay. So remember, I don't need this middle column anymore. Okay. Again, the reason I don't need that middle column anymore is when I look at this, it's telling me to look at P and not Q. So I'm getting rid of that Q column because I don't even need to use it in terms of my problem. Okay. Now, the one thing I do want to mention here, with the AND statement, the only time the AND statement is true is if they're both true. Then the whole thing will be true. So I'm going to look at this piece here and this piece here. Are they both true? No. This piece here and this piece here, are they both true? Yes, they are. This piece here and this piece here, are they both true? No. This piece here and this piece here, are they both true? No, they're not. Okay. Now, we're almost done. We're doing this in pieces, guys, okay? So now look, I'm going to look at the negation of what we got here. So all I'm going to do is change my truth value. So if it was false, now it's true. If it was true, now it's false. True and true, right? Okay, so let me get rid of those little arrows. We don't particularly need them. And I don't want you to think I'm talking about the if-then. Okay. All right. I'm going to keep scrolling down un poquito. Okay. And it says, write the statement in symbolic form and make a truth table. Okay, so when you're doing these problems in MyMathLab, guys, it's already going to give you what P and Q are. I just didn't write it here. Okay. So for instance, P would be apples are a good source of fiber. Oranges are a good source of, vitamin C. Okay. All right. So notice what this is telling me. The way I would write this here would be P and Q. Okay. So just like we did before, I'm going to make a little truth table. Okay. I'm going to go P and Q. And I'm going to go true and then true, false and then false, true, false, true, false. And remember what we said about the AND. The AND is only true if they're both true. Okay? All right. Now, I'm going to try to do the same thing for the next one here. Again, when you're doing this in MyMathLab, it'll give you the whole setup. I have worked all week. That's going to be my statement P. I have worked all week. Okay. Q, guys, is going to be the statement I have been paid. Okay. Again, when I'm telling you this here, in MyMathLab, it'll give you the statements for P and Q, okay? So when I read this piece here, the way I would write it, would be P and, because but is the same thing as and, I have not been paid, not Q. So when I make my truth table, I'm going to do this, P, Q, not Q, and then P and not Q over here, okay? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go true and then true, false and then false, and then true, false, and true, false. And then I'm going to have to say, look, if I'm going to make a not Q, from true it's going to go to false, from false it's going to go to true, from true to false, from false to true. And then I'm going to say I don't need this piece anymore, okay? And remember, because I'm doing my and, the only time my and is true is if they are both true. Are they both true? No, they're not. So it's false. Are they both true? Yes, they are. So it's true. Are they both true? No, it's false. Are they both true? No, it's true. Okay. So let me keep scrolling. And I'm going to do the same thing here. First thing I want you to notice, it is false. That's telling me I'm going to have a big negation on the outside and something inside parentheses. Mr. Ferrellini is the president, or Mr. Chow is the treasurer. Okay, so P is going to be Mr. F is the president. Q is going to be Mr. C is a treasurer, okay? Now, this is an or statement, guys, okay? So this is going to be P or Q, and because it has that it is false, that's what it's going to look like, the negation on the outside with the parentheses, okay? So again, one more time, I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to go P, Q, okay? I'm going to put P or Q, and then I'm going to put the negation of P or Q, okay? All right, so I'm going to make this again, true and then true, false and then false, and then true, false, true, false. I want you to remember about the or. The or is true as long as one of them is true. Okay, as long as one is true, we're good. That one is going to be false. Okay. Now, we're going to negate all the answers that we just got. So we came up with true, 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 false. Now we're going to have false, 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 and then true. Okay? All right. So I think this is the last problem. Yep, last problem here out of 3.2. And the directions here say identify which of the applicants would qualify for a loan. And then part B says, for the applicants who do not qualify, explain why. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. All right, so we're going to go through part A, who qualifies? So I'm going to read this piece right here, okay? And it says, to qualify for a loan of $45,000, an applicant must have a gross income of $30,000 if they're single, $50,000 combined if married, and assets of at least $10,000. Okay, so if you're single, you got to have at least 30 grand. If you're married, you got to have at least 50 grand, and you have to have assets of at least $10,000. Okay, so the first one here, first case scenario says, Mr. Argento is married with 2 children, earns $37,000. Mrs. Argento earns $15,000 at a part-time job. Okay, so they're married. Let's find their combined income. Okay, so we're going to take $37,000 and $15,000. We're going to add those together. And so combined, they earned 52 grand, okay? and they have assets of $25,000, okay? So remember what we said, combined, they got to have at least 50, well, they do, and their assets have to be at least 10,000. They're 25. So we know who's qualifying for the loan. So far, the Argentos. That's, what did I put an N? There was no N. The Argentos qualify. Okay. Now, let's take a look at Part B. Okay. Miss McVeigh is single, has assets of $19,000. She works in a store and earns 25. Okay, so she's single, but in order for her to qualify, she has to earn at least 30. She doesn't. Her assets have to be at least 10. Yeah, she's got assets of 19. Okay, so for Part B, we're going to say Miss McVeigh does not qualify because income is less than 30,000, right? She's good on the assets. She's just not good on the income, right? Okay, and now Part C, or the third case scenario here. Mr. Seward earns $24,000. Ms. Fox, his wife, earns $28,000. Their assets total $8,000. Okay, so let's see. Ms. Seward and Fox. Okay, so we have income of 24 and 28, which means our combined income is going to be, again, 52,000. So they're good on the income. The problem here, their assets are less than 10,000. So that's why they don't qualify, okay? So far, the only ones that qualified were the Argentos. They qualified, they had the income, they had the assets. Miss McVeigh had the assets, but not the income. And Mr. Seward and his wife, Miss Fox, had the income, but not the assets, right? And that, guys, is 3.2, okay?